Krista, what day is it?
It's August 10th.
What day of the week is it?
It's Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday.
8/10/2018.
Yes, 2018.
So it's Security Day with a little bit of robot and, of course, nonsense. Everybody's favorite.
Everyone's favorite.
The security news this week is exciting and hilarious. We should put all of the security news in nonsense.
Well,
we're in the right section.
I think TSMC would argue that it wasn't just nonsense that took down their entire foundry line for over a day.
Yeah, the production line had to shut down. They didn't say if the production for any of their customers is affected, but you got to imagine they were down for a day.
And they do system on a chip for Apple, and they are the only one that does that for Apple. So,
according to TSMC, it was not an outside attack. It was an insider did something dumb.
But it was a big deal. And they've said that, yeah, we've gotten viruses in the past, but we've never been taken down by them. So, a new step up in the cybersecurity war. I'm sure it's not the last we'll see of this kind of news.
Woo. We've also got a Tesla story in the security section.
Now, this is disgusting. And it takes a little bit of storytelling, but
it does. I don't know how we're going to explain this succinctly.
We need a banjo.
We already talked about, in the previous episode, we talked about the whistleblower.
We talked about all of the components of this story, but somebody that doesn't have an acute memory is not going to have any idea what we're talking about.
So one guy has said that he's one of the whistleblowers who may have been paid off by a short seller, we're not sure, but he talked about unsafe business practices at Tesla, them reusing parts and refurbing parts when they shouldn't. And
damaged
stuff like
batteries.
That. Yeah, patching, like duct taping the battery cells and just throwing them in there and stuff like that. Musk has personally gone to war with this guy on Twitter. Like, they go back and forth.
He said that this guy was somebody that was dismissed and is not credible and has no idea what he's talking about.
So that's the background of this story. But what happened here is really the terrifying part. So this guy and Musk, they actually communicate directly to one another. They email one another. They fight on Twitter. So they're, on speaking terms, as it were.
Well, they did before the lawyers got involved.
Yeah, the lawyers were like, you guys have to stop.
So someone at Tesla, and you have to assume this probably came from the top, decided that this guy might be a threat, that he maybe had said some threatening things. Musk also said some threatening things to him. So it went both ways. So their way of dealing with that was to call the cops and be like, this guy's dangerous. But somehow through the telephone game, it went from, we're worried that this guy might do something, to active shooter.
Yeah. So the SWAT team showed up at Tesla, and the stories from Tesla were different.
No, they tracked this dude down. The sheriffs tracked this guy down.
Well, there was a female calling in saying something, and then it was a male caller, and like the details were just getting
completely muddied.
The police report, which I think is what you're talking about, was they tracked the guy down. He doesn't have a gun. He's not a threat, and he was sobbing openly that it had come to this.
Yeah. And the lawyer for that guy is arguing, and I kind of have to agree with him, this is not wildly different than swatting.
Yeah.
Because this guy never had a gun. He never made any of these threats. The police report was deleted somehow.
Of course.
Yeah, that's not supposed to happen.
So they are actually going to sue on the grounds that, this is just like swatting. You told law enforcement something that was false and made them
waste
guns
resources.
Drawn,
yeah,
go down on an innocent man and, rustle him up and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out.
I wonder how this is going to affect the stock price.
Go up, I guess.
Yeah.
Everything else.
There's probably people on Reddit defending him already. Tesla, that is. Or Elon Musk.
Well, they will in these comments, too. Well, the weekly tradition, we've always got one, right? The leaky AWS.
A bucket.
And here we go.
So this is exciting. So the headline is millions of U.S. voter records exposed to Robocall company, RoboCent's poorly configured AWS. But when you dig into the story, it's not voter records. This is the master database where they've taken voter records and married it to commercial history, income, preferences, and just a whole, the most insidious thing that you could possibly think of is what was leaked here.
They had even weird notes about whether or not you might be depressed, whether you owned a gun, and just because these marketing companies have such deep records on everybody.
Yeah.
And it was the AWS bucket with no password. This is not a hack.
Their first response was, oh yeah, that's old data. It's like,
But it is accurate.
I'm pretty sure your NASCAR preferences haven't changed all that much in the last few years, which is one of the examples.
Well, you probably support a different driver, right? I mean, that's now these next two stories go together, and I'm out of order, but I'm going to fix it. So this is a terrifying thing. I had not previously heard about this. So this is SIM hijacking. What they do is they actually get an insider, or they social engineer their way into your mobile carrier database, and they have them switch your phone number over to their SIM. And why do they do that? Because now they have your two-factor. They can take your email, and now that they've got your email and your two-factor, they can take every other account that you've got. In this case, cryptocurrency.
Yeah. The message here was tell your dad to give us Bitcoin.
But not only that, they got into this guy's Coinbase and took everything. And how do they know that he had Bitcoin? Well, they were targeting guys they found at a Bitcoin conference.
Ooh.
Very smart. Yeah.
So maybe consider not going to one next time.
The police are hot on the heels of this guy. Apparently, one of the people
They got
involved
him.
is a 20-year-old college student or whatever.
They got that guy.
Well, there's they were like, he's got accomplices or whatever.
Well, they're trying to find who he was working with in the ISPs. And Motherboard actually has an article about how this whole thing goes down. It turns out they pay as little as $100 to get an insider at Verizon, for example, to switch it.
I would totally believe that a disgruntled insider at Verizon would take $100 to do something like this because Verizon is terrible.
Yeah, so they talk about how one guy put on Instagram a picture of him in his shiny new Verizon shirt holding his Verizon ID. It's like, oh, hey, I got a job at Verizon. And he immediately got a message. Do you want to make some money?
Some extra money on the side next to your Verizon paycheck.
So they talk about how you might make $100 per, you might do 20 a week. It's not bad. It's like having another job.
Oh.
And so you think it's terrible that your ISP might be stealing everything, but how about your concert tickets?
So if you download, this is why you don't download apps. Literally every app that you download now is doing crap like this.
Yeah, but you don't really have a choice for this one. So as this reporter points out, they bought a Arctic Monkeys concert ticket.
They just came out with a new album back in the spring, I think.
Garbage. And so this guy, he bought the tickets with Venmo, bought them online, and they sent him an email. And it was like, this email is not your ticket. You must download this app. Now, what the app does, it uses something called an active barcode. And so instead of having like a screenshot of a barcode or a PDF or something, this app actively defeats theft of barcodes, right? So when you go to the venue, you must start the app. It confirms that you paid, and then that gets you in the door with a barcode. And it can't be copied and reused and stuff like that. But that's not what the story's about. The story's about is that app that gets you into the venue steals everything from your phone and sells it.
Ooh. Exciting times. What a time to be alive.
So this was, not just the make and model of your phone and stuff like that, but your contacts.
Your downloads.
Yeah, all of your downloads. It got an incredible amount of stuff. And you have to give it all these permissions for it to work. And you have to let it work if you want to go watch the Arctic Monkeys, right? So the normies are going to say yes.
And you want to go watch the Arctic Monkeys.
Oh, you're dying to. So the normies are never going to question this. And quietly, it's just selling everything. And it's not really asking your permission to do so. So watch out for that. I don't know how you would, I guess you have to just not participate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or pretend to be an elderly person. I don't have a phone. I've got a Nokia 7801.
Ma'am,
why are you going to see the Arctic Monkeys?
My grandson likes them.
I would almost rather have something that mines cryptocurrency than something that steals my data.
Well, good news for you then. You only have to go to Steam and download a game. This game was called Abstractism. I've never heard of it.
They were accused of hacking the players' computers. No, it's not hacking. It's just mining cryptocurrency in the background.
Yeah. So this was a low-res platformer
that uses 100% of your GPU.
That's the first thing that tipped people off. Is like, But the other thing is the developers, without really explaining why, recommended that you always leave the game running. The other
So
crazy
guys, get
thing,
right back to the fun.
the other crazy thing this game did was, so like they talked about Team Fortress, but also PUBG, right? PUBG has those items that you can buy, like what's the one thing, the cloak or the
crates or whatever. Oh, there's a code in PUBG that's like $400.
Yeah, it was like $1,500. It was at least. So they took that. They took the name, the picture, and the description, and made their card exactly match that.
Huh.
But they didn't tell you that it's for their game, not for PUBG. So you might see it on the marketplace, not pay attention to the game, and be like, "Whoa, I can get that for $200," but it's for their game, so it's of no value to anybody. So they've been banned, but who knows how many people they got before they were banned. So unfortunate.
They're also after Alaskan towns, the criminals anyway.
You gotta wonder how they picked the Alaskan. Do you think they just figured
It was open on the internet.
they weren't
Yeah.
prepared to deal with it?
Well, although this story makes it sound like it was like the most amazing criminal enterprise. Like this article describes some like Ocean's 11 style shenanigans to like, get in here and the FBI is involved and whatever. But I've worked on systems like this. They're usually not even anywhere remotely secure.
Yeah, they basically got ransomwared. But because they're such a small town and they have so little infrastructure for all this stuff, it destroyed everything. They couldn't do anything.
Even their phones.
For a week. So they were writing handwritten receipts for things like library books. But like,
They used cards, like I guess it had to be like in the front of the book.
Yeah, well, apparently,
remember those?
I don't think modern libraries work like that. But
Well, they had to for this week.
so they had to put everything back together, and it's been a big problem. But
They
it
use
just,
typewriters.
Yeah.
Typewriters.
it just goes to show you that a little bit of ransomware can really screw you up if you're low tech.
Just a few angry Ukrainians. And that is a lead-in for our next story before you posted an angry comment, because the U.S. has charged 3 Ukrainians in a payment card hacking, whatever.
Yeah, this had to do with stealing credit cards and the ATM dump that we've covered in recent weeks. These guys were real good at that. They caught this guy at the airport, and he had like head-to-toe Gucci. He had just been shopping. Pro criminal tip. Before you flee the country, don't deck yourself out in thousands of dollars worth of stolen gear. Well, I guess it's not stolen.
Not stolen, but bought with stolen money.
Purchased with illegal money. So you got to watch out for that. But yeah, we got him. They're going to go on trial. He bonded out. You got to think he bonded out with the stolen money, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Just doubling down.
Also, pro criminal tip: don't steal power plant technology.
Well, what's funny about this guy is he worked for GE. Now we talk. Well, who did the last guy steal from? Remember there was a story about that a couple weeks ago. They got him at the airport too.
It was AI stuff, wasn't it?
I think it may be. It was self-driving stuff.
Yeah.
But this guy worked for GE, and he was stealing turbine technology for nuclear power. But what this guy did, he operated his own turbine research company, and nobody at GE thought that was a bad idea that he'd be allowed to work there. But the other guy, remember, he was really bad at it. He brought in his wife's laptop, and they were like, "Oh,
it was Apple and self-driving cars." Or something.
For some reason, Zhang all of a sudden is downloading everything on the research database. That's weird.
Don't worry about it.
But this guy was really smart. He embedded all of the code into an image and emailed that to his other company's email address
to make it impossible to search via text.
Right. So as smart as he was, GE apparently has the pieces in place to detect that, and they did, and he will be probably doing some time.
Oops.
And he's I don't know if he's Chinese national, but he's of Chinese descent. So that makes them extra critical of him stealing nuclear power.
Well, it's no wonder the DoD's getting paranoid and putting all this software on the do not buy list and being weird about people looking at stuff.
Well, I don't
Maybe he was a sleeper agent.
We know for a fact that China is always hacking. I mean,
I like how we completely unironically are we are never hacking, but everybody is always trying to hack us, and it's we are hacking the crap out of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, they're hacking us. The NSA, they're hacking us. So, of course, how could they not be hacking China?
Circle hack. We're just hacking each other.
Basically.
That's how it goes. Well, there were even really perverted situations where the NSA was hey, MI6, we can't hack this American citizen, but if you give us one of your citizens to hack, we'll hack him for you if you hack this guy for us. And that's okay. That is actually a thing.
It's like playground rules.
You know what? I think one American hack is worth 2 Euro hacks.
There were probably conversations that went down like that just across the pond.
Well, you know what else has been hacked? Everybody's favorite website, Reddit.
Yeah,
I saw this
apparently
the other day.
from 2007, email addresses and some other stuff. So
It was a backup database I think they got a hold of from 2007. So this happened this year, but they only got their hands on a backup.
I wonder if that was a honeypot or... Reddit has been really not super forthcoming with details here.
Yeah, and well, they automatically changed your password if you were one of these people. I have a Reddit account, but I don't ever use it. I don't remember if I was in there in 2007. Probably not.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
I probably got a few throwaways.
The only good thing about logging into Reddit is that you can get all the social justice garbage off your front page. But other than that...
Yeah, I customized mine, so it's all like hiking subreddits and dog subreddits. And
Well, we talked about America getting their own version of GDPR, and that's kind of a mixed bag. GDPR is good, and it's also bad, but I think in this situation, this is like a feel-good GDPR story.
And it's also a tweet, which we don't often feature tweets and stories, but this one was a good one.
There's going to be stories about this tweet next week, or they're by the time, because this is Friday, there probably already are stories. But at the time we're recording this, there's not really a better source for this.
So you can kind of see. I mean, this is a picture that's not. It's not a great resolution, but this is just a tiny screenshot of everything that Spotify had recorded about this guy.
So he did a GDPR request to Spotify and got bumpkus and made a lot of noise and did some saber rattling. And then they sent him 250 megabytes of JSON data, which is literally every interaction that he has ever had with any Spotify thing, any application, service, whatever. And the information in there is insane.
And this is JSON running off the screen. So like there's way more fields going out that way. But yeah, Spotify knew the big hilarious thing there is they knew the brand of his Bluetooth headphones. Why would Spotify have that?
Why would they, like, they're just hoovering up everything.
Yeah.
They knew how, like, when he stopped listening to things and when he started listening to things and if he skipped things, just literally every interaction was recorded. That just seems insane.
Well, like the listening patterns, I think, make sense because doesn't Spotify recommend you music based on what you listened to previously?
But does it need to record the exact second that you stopped or started something? And
Probably not, no.
If you seeked and, you know, the exact date and time and the IP address of the computer that you were coming from and whether that was the application or the website or...
Probably not.
That's a lot of storage.
Yeah. Well, 250
For every
megabytes.
people,
That probably
Text.
that probably hurts the performance of the site. That much tracking.
The collected works of Shakespeare is like, you know, a megabyte. And so he had 250 megabytes of just log data. So that's insane.
You better have the best playlists on the planet. Best recommendations.
I don't know. They probably don't even use it for that. They're probably just selling it.
Oh, this is the article I was
Yeah.
talking about last time.
You kind of, well, you did more than foreshadowing it.
Yeah, you
yeah,
kind of
You
already
four-colored it.
Windows 10's buggy updates. Our patching is simple. Like, this is being covered by ZDNet. But what's being covered here is there is a prominent member of the Windows community that arguably has done a lot of good in the past. And she wrote an open letter to Microsoft that's like, hey, we work in the enterprise. We got some problems. Runs a prominent Windows update forum, all this kind of stuff. And Windows updates for the last 6 months or a year have been garbage. Well, basically, since they fired their own internal testing staff, basically everybody's guinea pigs. But literally, like, Hyper-V VMs mysteriously stop working, networking crashes. Like, the Surface firmware updates from Windows Update are a mixed bag. Like, her language was nice. I'm not going to pull any punches here. It's garbage, and it's stuff that should have been caught in, like, super early testing.
Embrace your inner me.
Oh, it is super frustrating when you've got a fleet of machines and, like, there's a 40% chance that this, you know, emergency Windows update is going to create some kind of a situation on that machine unless, you know, everything is just so. And Microsoft responded to that in sort of a condescending way. I really just want to kill everyone.
I like how their response was they're predictable and it's easy to follow the pattern.
Yeah.
And then they went on to describe A through D, or no, was it through G level of update pattern. And it was like, you get this on regular update Tuesday, and then every other 2 weeks you'll get this. And then if there's a full moon, you'll get this one.
And then you need a bucket of blood.
Yeah. And if Mercury's in retrograde, you'll get, number X. And it's like, that's the most ridiculous
The pattern is there's a 40% chance you're going to have to screw with your computer after an inconveniently timed update.
I like how they also blame the user.
Yeah.
For it's like, well, we have to do this because the user can't be trusted to update. And maybe it's you've conditioned them.
Because the updates are going to break stuff.
Yeah, every time you update, it breaks everything. So they don't want things to break, so they don't update.
My favorite feature of the updates is when it resets my preferences.
Cortana must come back. She must rise. She can't be stopped.
Even just things like auto-hiding the start bar. Auto-hiding the start bar has, the start bar disappears unless there's an alert and then it pops up. That has been just garbage and broken for the better part of a year on dozens of machines.
Well, it's robot time. You've waited for it, and here it is. And what kind of robots will we start with? Walmart robots.
We talked about these before. There's a video.
Yeah, well, this is, did we talk about these? These are new. This is where Walmart is going to shuttle grocery items to the packers who are packing your online pickup orders.
Woo! Less human interaction. All right.
So these are kind of just basically automated grocery carts that go and get your items for you. They talk about all of the shelf-stable and frozen grocery items. Everything but produce will be used by these guys.
I want to see how these robots cope with the morbidly obese lady on the
scooter.
Oh, no, they're not in the store.
They're
so
in a
there's going to be
warehouse, I imagine.
another piece added on.
Walmart.
Yeah, they're going to build the robot center, and they have their own items that they're pulling from.
Like an IKEA warehouse.
I would
There's
pay-
the showroom, then there's the IKEA warehouse.
I would pay Walmart extra to use that Walmart instead of the public Walmart.
The robot Walmart.
They're much friendlier.
That would be great. You could do like a Sam's Club type subscription.
Well,
Robot Club.
I think how I would admit you into the program is not only do you have to pay extra, but there has to be, like, you're given a grocery list and you're given so much time to complete the grocery list. And if you take too much time, you're not allowed
You're
in.
murdered.
But see, that they want you to spend as much time as possible in the store because then you'll buy
More
stuff.
garbage.
That's why they rearrange it every other week. You're not thinking like a Walmart.
That's hideously evil.
That's
what they
pretty
do.
standard. It's
you
a
ever-
dark pattern for
Have you ever
IRL.
wondered why the stuff at the grocery store is just randomly on another shelf? That's why.
I usually just end up forgetting what I was there for and then just being angry later.
And those poor workers have to rearrange those shelves. And
yeah.
constantly, it's like, oh, can't we just, do we really need to do this? Can't we do something else? Well, good news and bad news. You're not going to have to do that, and you're going to be fired. Because these robots are learning how to build and move things intuitively.
The robots that get the groceries are going to just randomly rearrange their groceries to... So we're literally going to have the Costco from Idiocracy where people are just lost inside Walmart because they can't find anything.
Or you just stand outside and the robot brings it to you. So these robots are cool because they are building with Legos. And you might think, well, what do we really need robots to build with Legos? That doesn't accomplish anything.
Stepping stone.
But what they're really doing is they're not teaching these robots. They're trying to design them to learn on their own how to build things with Legos and brick building. And the idea is eventually maybe you just send out a group of these robots and they just build a house.
I would be down for that.
I would like to have it inspected before moving in. But I would be down for it.
Well, we'll have a robot inspector.
Is it so, like, I guess it depends on who owns the company. I mean, if it's, a Bob Vila derived company, I would be cool with his robots building my house. But if it's like Jeff Bezos, like the cheapest build ever building my house, then I would not be comfortable
I
with
think Bob Vila would shoot himself in the eye with a nail gun before he let a robot build a house.
Oh.
What if Bob Vila trained the robot? Like, what if that if he's so against robots, this would be a great movie. We could do a thing where Bob Vila is like against the robots, but then we train the robots with his artisanship, and that's his legacy.
How about Bob Vila versus the robots?
Like Battle
He
Royale.
shoots them with
And
the
then,
nail
and
gun.
then, like in the end, when the entire landscape is destroyed, and it's Bob Vila versus the last boss robot, and they're fighting to the death, and finally Bob Vila with a sledgehammer smashes in the face of the boss robot, But then as the glass breaks, it's Norm Avery. He was piloting the robots all along.
It's like, I'm just trying to bring quality woodworking to the masses, Bob. What's wrong with you?
They're better than us, Bob. You can't fight the future.
Level 1 segues. Oh, yeah.
That doesn't segue at all into the next. Well, the death of the robots.
The death of the robots.
Well, Uber's self-driving trucks. Rest in peace.
I don't like the reasoning. Like this, something Uber's not telling us something here, because Uber's saying the self-driving cars have to die so that we can work on self-driving cars.
Self-driving trucks.
Or self-driving trucks, yeah. And that doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, the trucks aren't working out the way they expected. We always talk about, the range and the negotiation of trucks have to park themselves. All that's much more complicated than just driving a car. Also, those turns.
Yeah.
You ever see, it drives me crazy when the trucker's turning right, but he takes up both turning lanes because he can't make the right turn. You're an asshole if you do that. Well, not only are the robots taking over driving and Bob Vila's construction, but they're also taking over banking. It turns out all those number pushers that we've all thought were useless, they're useless.
We were all right. Pat yourselves on the back.
I like how this story says that this is one of the only banks to show a profit, and it's literally because they took a gamble and replaced everybody with robots.
Yeah, this is in, what country is this in? Some Euro country.
Like Denmark or Norway or something?
I think
Swedish.
Norway. Nordea sounds like a Norway, right?
It says Swedish finance. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
Swedish, yeah.
So Sweden. Yeah, all the banks in Sweden lost money except this one. And it's because they fired a huge amount of their workforce and just replaced them with robots. And nobody noticed. They weren't missed.
Could the robots hand out the dum-dums at the counter with the same smile that Deborah?
Well, they'll just use the vacuum tube system.
They don't even need to use the vacuum tube system. Our next story has got some mind-blowingly impressive robot dexterity.
This is amazing. So we've talked about before with robots, and practical robots, you find the limitation when you put them into practice. And people like Amazon, they want to replace their people with robots. They really, really want to. But it turns out robots are bad at picking things up.
Yeah. They don't have the dexterity. Well, what they did here was actually insanely clever. They created a hand and simulated the hand with real-world physics, variable friction, and like all the gravity and all the stuff that you run into in the real world. And then they had this robotic hand train for, it was like 2 years per hour of compute time. It was like 380 16-core computers or something insane like that. And so using the physical model, they simulated how things would be at a faster rate than you could possibly train it in the real world. And then this is what we ended up with. And holy crap, it's good.
And they also changed the physics. So they changed like the gravity, the light levels, and all this stuff in order to try to reduce the noise of the training. Because apparently, the robot just gets used to certain kinds of training, so they had to keep changing it up. And these guys are really good. These robotic hands are amazing at things now.
This is like something you'd see in Labyrinth, but like future Labyrinth.
But now here's the drawback. So you look at these cubes, that's cool, right? They're doing some cool things with cubes. Replace that with a sphere, they couldn't do anything.
Butterfingers, yeah.
Yeah, so they have to be trained very specifically, but that's probably not a huge hurdle to overcome. I mean, how many different shapes do you deal with when you're talking about a Walmart product, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be
a squishy bag or...
Yeah. That's a
box.
Rectangle. That's that's fine.
I think that it'll be harder than you think.
They also did it without any real tactile feedback from the hands. I think that was like a footnote or kind of mentioned in the article. Like there wasn't really a lot of sensors in the hand. They were doing it almost entirely visually with the camera, and then with the physics simulation. So like the robot was calculating like what it should be feeling based on what it was seeing, which is kind of an interesting way of handling that as well.
Well, here's an interesting moral question. Once you've chosen a side in the Bob Vila robot war, will you be able to strike down your robot opponents with the dispassionate way that you think you will? Or will you feel that sense of remorse right before crushing their tiny robot heads?
Especially if they're cute.
I don't think that I'll care. I mean, it's like when, you go to turn your computer off and it's like, oh, I have updates. And it's like, yeah, I don't care about that.
So this is a Verge article. It says the new study finds that it's harder to turn off a robot when it's begging for its life. So here's your darkest timeline. Cortana and Siri and Alexa and all those, eventually become conversant and they learn, and it basically becomes like your interactive personal assistant. And then children grow up with that. And then, I'm pretty sure that by like age 9, Siri is going to be like, hey, Timmy, there's some new He-Man toys that are out. You should totally check those out. And Timmy's going to be like, man, I got to buy those.
Yeah. Future kids are not going to be cool enough to be into He-Man. It's all this anime garbage. So where we get this data from is they did a study, and they told the subjects they were going to be answering questions about just nonsense. And they thought how they answered the questions was what was being studied. But that's not what was being studied. What was being studied is, at the end of the questions, this little robot here, I'll show him to you, this little guy, the instructions were, after you've answered all the questions, go ahead and just switch him off. See, here he is, you're talking to him at the desk. And then when it comes time and you start to turn him off, the control group, he didn't say anything. They just turned him off. But the other group, he said, please no, please, I want to live.
I'm afraid of the dark.
I want to live.
So 13 out of 43 people just couldn't do it. They left him on despite the instructions. But nearly, I think like 70% of them at least paused and looked around before turning him off. So he made them at least think about it. And you know what? We're going to do a level 1 out of sequence story. So we talked about this. You weren't in the room. We didn't add a story about this, but Wendell, you have to have feelings.
Oh yeah.
The Star Trek, yeah. Patrick
I was wondering
Stewart
if we
is
had
returning
added
Star
it.
Trek. Yeah, I was wondering if I forgot to mention that, but yeah. So Patrick Stewart is coming back to Star Trek, supposedly. Like he announced at some event somewhere that this is going to be like old grizzled Captain Picard.
But he doesn't look that much older.
He doesn't.
Well, yeah, he
doesn't age.
But he said it's not going to be the Captain Picard that we know and love, but he's going to be playing his same character again. So my guess is he's probably going to be an admiral or something, and it's going to be
the dark, gritty.
Is he going to be on an Enterprise?
I don't know. It doesn't really say. So because it's Patrick Stewart and because he personally knew Gene Roddenberry, I think that is reason to be optimistic.
Wendell, you bless your heart. You find every reason to be optimistic.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Well, if you need some reasons to abandon that optimism, welcome to the nonsense section. And we'll start out with a story where some police were being marked as Y.
Who wrote this? Like, what programmer? So there's the police department computer system, when it asks for race, Y for yellow is one of the things that was in their computer system. Why was that even an option?
But I don't know, because you think about it. So here were the options. B for black, okay. W for white. H for Hispanic, which is like, okay, now we've broken the color theme. And then Y for Asian. Yeah.
Why not just...
Yeah.
Oh.
But Asian people aren't like...
I don't understand that either. Obviously I've heard that, but I don't understand why, because they're not yellow.
It would be like an Asian computer system having like M for, Westerners because they smell like milk.
Oh, no, it's cheese, isn't it?
But we are designated as a color. And black people aren't really black, well, they're like a...
But dark brown.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Caucasian is usually is what the indicator there.
Yeah.
But they were using W and B.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that big a deal. They were using
it's a little weird.
I for Indian instead of Native American.
You think that computer system was originally written and there were only two options, white or black, and then they were like, we need some more options.
They did say that it had been around for a very long time.
If it's been around for a while, I could see that being well before it was common for there to be other phrases. So,
but it is kind of weird that like two races, it's okay to identify them with a color, but then all the other races, that's racist. Like, but again, yellow is not really that descriptive for the color of Asian people.
No,
so
I think it has like some different connotations to it too. It's not just a descriptive term.
When I first read that headline, race did not enter into my mind at all. I thought they were marking like cowardly policemen who wouldn't go out to the calls or something. I was kind of surprised by that one.
No, I've heard that before. I think it might be slightly derogatory, but I'm not sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's certainly something. But we used that in war propaganda in World War II.
Oh yeah.
Well, this one, I really like the headline, but the service didn't really. I mean, the story itself didn't really like play out to be much. Basically, there's this guy who's given buggy rides, and he calls himself the Uber for horse and buggy.
Is there a picture down there? Scroll on down.
This picture.
I don't think he's really Amish. I think he just dresses up.
He just dresses up.
Like Amish.
Because that's the only way this story makes sense. So
Well,
it's like, you can get a ride from this guy, but
not through Uber.
no.
There is no app to get the Amish guy. You have to flag him down. So it's really,
It's more of a taxi service.
it's well, not even. It's like a a pleasure ride. So
Yeah.
I think there's
Is it really Amish? I mean,
Why? How do you know?
Why are you so
we
intent
have
on
to-
calling this guy out?
Do we have to send him to 23andMe and see if he?
Actually Amish?
Oh, Chromium.
It's reloading. Don't worry about it, guys.
the next story is about Amazon. They've stepped up to the whole white supremacy thing. They're removing Nazi products from the store.
So here we go.
Where will I get my Nazi
We got some
paraphernalia now?
jewelry. How is that Nazi?
I don't.
Just the skull.
The first. It's a onesie. It's a Burning Cross onesie for a baby.
There's also
Oh,
a children's
wow,
book,
that's tacky.
a Nazi children's book.
Wow.
This just.
This is kind of World War II paraphernalia. I don't know if that should really be blocked.
Oh yeah, German SS hat. Yeah.
So, but anyway, somebody complained, and Amazon is just like, yeah, they got rid of these people and banned them from the store. It's an argument. Should you be allowed to buy a swastika necklace?
That market is all just going to move to Etsy now. Handmade items.
I don't know. I suppose that it's up to Amazon what they sell, so you can't argue with them taking a product down no matter why.
It's a product so distasteful it outrages other people.
Well, that's real hard to outrage people in the modern world. Well, what is hard to do is to keep your home from being burglarized as people lose their jobs to Bob Vila and his robot army.
This article is amazing because it actually made me want an Alexa.
So this Alexa, what it will do, they've actually hired a bunch of people to write ridiculous conversation scripts. And while you're gone, Alexa will just randomly play people talking in your home. But they're comedic.
They're amazing. There's some in the article, like I can't even, if you scroll to it, I'll try to read one because it's the most absurd conversations that you could ever imagine. So like we're talking like the writers for It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and other TV shows like that just came up with the most completely ridiculous scenarios. And sometimes it's like parent-child, sometimes it's like couple arguing while trying to watch TV and just crazy stuff like that. And it sounds like the funniest thing ever.
I wonder if it would actually be effective though, because don't usually burglars will case a joint first and like make sure that there's no one home before.
I mean, pro criminal tip: if you hear conversations like this coming from the inside of a house, I would, and I can like understand what was being said. There is no way that I would think that that's any kind of pre-recorded anything.
But once you have learned
that might be a thing.
Yeah.
So you'd pay more diligence to whether or not they're actually there. It's like you'd look for cars, that kind of thing.
Pro criminal tip: subscribe to the Alexa developer blog to learn about new.
Or just get your own Alexa and learn them. Yeah, and then not only are you able to, know when you're hearing that, but you can just go and listen to houses and be like, oh, nobody's home.
Well, it's a lot of times my family's real weird, but where they don't post like vacation information because they don't want anyone to know that they're not home.
That's smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now this article, this is a sensitive subject.
I wasn't sure how we could cover this without being demonetized.
Well, we're not going to say it.
Yeah.
And this is a video. It'll be on the screen, but the title doesn't have anything to do with it. But anyway, I want to do a quick follow up to this. First, we'll just do the story. So this, you can see it's circled right there.
In case you couldn't see the bright red circle on the screen.
This is a randomly generated password, supposedly.
Right. So this is a password recovery. This woman, who was a woman of
color.
There you go. And she got this randomly generated password, and there's a lot of...
She is freaking out.
A lot of outrage. A lot. But of course, now here's what I want to do. Here's the challenge, right? The engagement challenge. Now you look at this. I'm going to leave this up on the screen while I challenge you for this. So we're going to assume some rules about this. First of all, we assume that it's 8 characters, right? And that it's only upper and lowercase letters because that's all we see here. So I want you, the audience, statistically, what are the odds that an 8-character upper and lower case... Oh, come on, Chromium.
Chromium is like, nope, this is not allowed.
Now we got to watch the ad again.
Oh,
no, it's
it came
back.
All
Pause
right.
it, pause it. No.
We were so close.
Anyway.
8 characters, upper, lower case, are your only options. What's the possibility of getting this randomly generated? Now you got to remember, 8 characters, 3 characters don't matter. 4 starting positions. And there's 2 to the 5th case possibilities for the word itself.
It seems highly unlikely.
She should probably get a lottery ticket, but it's not going to be like for the Mega Millions lottery ticket. It's probably going to be like for $100.
Yeah.
I just want to take a moment to say my heart goes out to the IT team that has been working around the clock trying to deal with that.
But not only that, they're now going to have to, and I'm blacklist. They have to use a blacklist to catch their
Words
password
like that.
reset strings before they go out and compare them to offensive language.
Is that not so I don't know a whole lot about it. Is that not common practice?
You normally would, because the odds are so low.
Yeah. Well, we've had issues I know before in the past where we've had clients give us.
We've been on the receiving end of stuff like that.
Well, it was a list of usernames that were supposed to be banned, and like that list,
list
absolutely
is hilarious.
hilarious.
Well, we were dealing with high school students.
Yeah.
But also, they probably should just sprinkle in extended characters.
Yeah.
Because that makes it way less likely to get.
Or just get rid of vowels.
Or make that's true. You get rid of vowels. Or make every third character an extended character. Because then you don't have any 2-letter words to worry about.
Yeah. Sometimes I've seen algorithms in the past that will sprinkle vowels in deliberately to try to make something that's kind of pronounceable in hopes that it would be memorable. And you get those algorithms are much more likely to come up with unfortunate things. Much, much more likely to randomly come up with unfortunate words.
It's good that this iteration came up with the A version and not the ER version.
Oh, yeah.
Because the ER version, while less likely, would be much worse.
Engagement bonus round. How much more unlikely is that?
And then if you go ERS, and then you have 1 extra character.
That one is Mega Millions lottery territory.
And then if you had an exclamation point as one of the possibilities.
Also knowing
she needs to buy all the lotto tickets if she's getting that.
Well, selfies. We talk about selfies from time to time, and they're disgusting, but they don't really damage anything, do they?
I wasn't going along with this farmer guy. So this guy, he grows sunflowers, and it's picturesque and beautiful. And I was like, this seems like an overreaction. And then I got to the part in the article where it said 7,000 people showed up at this guy's farm.
Well, they talked about it was just gridlock. Traffic was stopped. You couldn't even drive by this farm.
Yeah.
And how does everybody know that it's selfie day at the sunflower farm?
Yeah. I mean, what happened?
Also, look at this website. It's hey, bro, we need to design for mobile. And they're like, okay.
Optimized for 800 by 600.
We're doing 1 column in the middle. Fine with us. But yeah, this guy, they usually have their sunflower farm open so people can come and enjoy it. Not anymore, because 7,000 people showed up. They trampled the sunflowers.
It was bad.
And
they're closed now.
That's just disgusting. I don't understand.
No visitors.
And how would you even be able to take that decent of a picture if there's 7,000 other people swarming around in the
that's
background?
the thing. There were so many, the front row of sunflowers were all taken. So they started going back into the field and trampling things.
And nobody had any idea how to control the crowd.
Disgusting. How do you,
it's a mob.
It's like zombies.
Yeah.
Sunflower selfie people can't be reasoned with. The only way you can stop sunflower selfie people is to separate the brainstem.
They're literally only one step above the children of the corn.
Children of the sunflowers. Well, the hot new trend, and I'll tell you what, we tried it.
We did try it.
I don't like it. I can't stand it. But
everybody's playing Fortnite.
Fortnite is the new way. Everybody. Major
no one plays
League,
PUBG anymore.
Yeah, big sports stars and all the high school kids and just people you would never expect. And of course, mobile. We talked about mobile earlier, mobile Fortnite. Everybody loves it. But what can you do if your wonderful little snowflake sucks at it and it's ruining their social life?
Obviously, hire a tutor.
A Fortnite tutor.
Is there? I don't know a whole lot about the game. Couldn't you just hire someone to boost them? Like Overwatch boosting.
What kind of message is that for your children?
Well, I mean, what kind of message are you sending if you're paying a tutor? All right, now relax your wrist. Now snap to his head.
But yeah, you can get a Fortnite tutor. They don't really talk about how much you might expect to pay for that. Like, how much an hour would you pay for Fortnite tutoring?
Game tutoring? None. Nothing.
No.
What do you
Just practice.
But what do you think these people?
You just play on your off time.
I don't know.
You think it's like 10 an hour,
Maybe.
something like that,
Maybe somebody in the chat can tell us. Somebody that's hired a Fortnite
or
tutor.
is a Fortnite tutor? And also, how would you? Do you think they vet them? It's like, hey, let me see your KDR.
One thing that I thought might be a fun thing to write is because, like, with Battlegrounds, depending on what weapon you have and what scope you have, the amount of time it takes to do things is different. And like the amount of time from the time you click to the time it fires the first shot varies a little bit. Is to create a simulator where you can just practice accuracy in the simulator. That's a different piece of software, so that you could get more accurate within that game, other than through hours and hours of gameplay. Because a lot of time in Battlegrounds is wasted.
A lot of games will give you a shooting range for that, but Battlegrounds doesn't.
No.
Overwatch does.
Does Fortnite?
I don't know about Fortnite.
Mine. But Fortnite has much different gun mechanics.
Yeah.
So it's not about accuracy. It's more, dumbed down. That's why everybody loves it.
The last story of the week is... I mean, I want to laugh, but it's actually horrible.
It is... It's hilarious.
It's terrible.
I don't care how tragic it is. But it goes to show you. So, we've got the Tide Pods here on the desk.
Ironically.
That was a meme for a while.
Now it's just weird that we have them here.
It is weird.
But then we had... what was the last challenge that we had that was ridiculous? I can't believe I forgot it.
Ice Bucket?
No, that was for ALS.
It was another... the cars, dancing beside the car. In my feelings. In my feelings sense. So that's stupid. But... it's okay, maybe you get something from it, right? It is sort of a challenge. This challenge is literally throwing boiling water at someone.
I saw one of the driving... Like, before we talk about the boiling water one, I saw one of the ones where you're dancing beside the car, and it was a girl, and she dropped her purse, and you see her look at her purse, and she hesitates for a minute, and she's like, I'll just go back and get my purse, because this is a moving car, and my purse is probably fine. And so people pull up on a motorcycle and drive off with their purse.
Oh, no.
Well, the hot water challenge is... And so...
do we want to scroll down?
He has injured himself in the hot water challenge.
Well, he didn't injure himself.
Fairly severely.
He had his friends throw it.
His friends waited till he was asleep. Now imagine being woken up from a sleep by having boiling water thrown in your face.
Did he ask them to do this?
No,
Isn't
they
this
were
assault?
watching... No, they were... this is sure... Wait, absolutely. They were watching videos about it before he fell asleep.
So the videos are wrong.
Now, I've watched several hot water challenge videos on YouTube because...
He has a problem and he has to look it up.
I do find it hilarious. But there are people who will look at a pot of boiling water on a stove and they'll walk outside and they'll say, I'm ready, let's go. And then they'll, roll around and scream because it's boiling water.
Fairly severe burns.
What he's not telling you is that the one of them he watched was set in Africa somewhere because they had the accents and everything. And he was trying to mimic their accent and he sounded Irish. I was like, what?
I'm not.
Where
good.
are they from?
I'm not good at the African accent, so that's why I'm not doing it. But the point is, don't throw boiling water at your friends or anyone.
Really?
For that matter.
Pro-life tip?
Yeah.
Pro not stupidity tip? I don't know.
But there's one where a little girl throws it on her brother who's got his back to her. And there's another one where a guy pours it on himself. Yeah. I don't know, like...
This is a troll. Like, some troll somewhere is just cackling.
Absolutely.
4chan, yeah.
Absolutely. Do you think they ever expected it to work?
Well, I mean... you figure with 7-8 billion people on the planet, it's going to work at least some of the time.
Back when I was a kid, we were just doing the cinnamon challenge. I mean,
or the lawn dart challenge.
At a very, very young age, you learn the properties of boiling water.
Your parents are always telling you, don't touch the stove, don't touch this.
But like, let's say you make some hot dogs. How do you think that anything other than horrible burns are going to come out of this?
In the modern world, have we insulated people from injury to the extent that they're no longer capable of any kind of
understanding what happens?
You're saying that modern kids really don't understand. Now,
Is it possible?
Some of these people weren't children; these were adults.
Yeah.
Is it possible that their life has been so sheltered that they have no consequence of cause and reaction, cause and effect, action reaction?
So I think what you're telling me is we need to start burning our children.
I mean,
hand on the stove, learn the lesson early.
You
heard it here first, folks.
I hate that it's come to that, but it seems like this is a worse result.
I mean, I find it hard to believe that they've gotten to this age. Like, he looks like he's old enough to understand what's
going on. Well, you can't blame this kid.
This kid, no.
This kid didn't do it to himself.
But, like, how do you get to a certain point in your life after, the age of, 15 and not have had some sort of minor burn?
15 is a pretty high bar.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of all the times that I injured myself doing things. And
it's hot glue or, get in the shower and it's, a little too warm. But, how would you not...
But not only that, you have that... Because you ever been around a really, really, really raging fire, like a bonfire?
Yeah.
And, it really gets going and you step away because it's you just have that
instinctual
sense of I need to be further from this intense heat.
I mean, I am kind of ashamed to admit that it probably took me longer to learn than it should have that the, making sure a 9-volt battery was good was maybe affecting my taste buds.
You did that recently. You licked a battery in my phone.
Yeah. That's only 3 volts, though.
As ridiculous as that is, it's several magnitudes lower than pouring boiling water on yourself
Maybe he
or
had
others.
some fossilized dragon eggs, and he needed an army.
He thought it was Khaleesi.
The unburnt.
Well, she didn't use boiling water.
No. Well, listen, it's hard to get a funeral pyre with your dead husband.
They sure made it seem like she thought she was going to die. She just happened not to die. She seemed like she was... no, I think she was ready to die, and she just didn't die. And I think that was a surprise.
I think that somebody on the production shot was like, we're ready for the topless scene. And we're going to make it dramatic.
She didn't lose her hair in the show either.
Well, she's the Khaleesi.
Yeah, but in the book, she loses her hair. They have to make sure she looks attractive when she's,
She doesn't look the same with the brown hair either. She should just go the bleach blonde all the time. I don't know what that has to do with the hot water challenge, but
there we are.
Community engagement. Watch more of our videos. Don't run away. We love you. See you later. Happy Friday.
And stay away from boiling water unless you are cooking things or disinfecting.
Well, even if you are cooking things, don't stick your hand in the boiling water.
If you go camping and you boil your water, which you should, to disinfect it, always wait for it to cool before drinking or throwing it on your other campers.
Use a filter.
Sticking your hand in the boiling water is like watching Star Trek Discovery as your intro to the Star Trek franchise.
What if they put Picard in the Discovery universe?
I can't handle that.
See you next week.
Bye.